Imagine a life where there's no one to help you and your dangers compared to others are multiplied by 10. A life where you can trust no one. And even police officers don't offer to help you, even if your life is at risk. You have absolutely no one to turn to, and all of that because you're trying to make a decent wage or achieve an education. Illegal sex workers live that life every second they are on the street. Many of us know someone or multiple people who are willing to risk their health and even their lives in order to make a quick dollar. I, for one, have been listening to the silenced voices of sex workers for years, constantly watching the documentaries of people dumping their dead bodies off of highways, and those who are snubbed by officers for working in an illegal industry in America. I understand that work drive, where it is do or die, and many times you sacrifice so much in order to be financially stable. I know that some of you all know that those experiences, or have someone in your life who does, where they wake up only to work for 2 hours of sleep and push through their 10-hour work shift. At the end of the day, sex workers are completely alike to the people who work on the 15th floor of a construction building, who blatantly also risk their lives in order to make enough money to scrape by. They are individuals with complex feelings and sentiments who comparatively work just as hard as any other citizen. Today I will be diving into the deep issues of illegal prostitution in America, such as the health risks and physical dangers to those in the industry face, and offer a solution to these issues. I'll begin by talking about the health risks that sex workers face in their day-to-day lives and the little help they receive for it. In the United States, where prostitution laws vary in strictness by state, sex working can be extremely health hazard. Oftentimes, prostitutes can put themselves at such risk completely unknowing due to the lack of social and health resources available to them. The CDC explains that people who exchange sex are at higher risk to attract STDs and HIV because of their tendencies to have multiple sex partners or sex without protection. Many sex workers are not provided the resources or help such as affordable birth control and free condoms, which can put their lives at intense risk and cause for accidental pregnancies as well. Sadly, because of the secrecy of being a sex worker illegally, it makes it more difficult for facilities to understand the number of sex workers affected by STDs and HIV, meaning it is almost near impossible to create the number of resources necessary to aid them. CDC elaborates on this by disclosing that many sex workers face stigmas and poverty, as well as lack of health care services, which further their limit in progression of HIV prevention. More often than not, those who are working in the sex industry are faced with poverty or social stigmas that prevent them from seeking help, education, or help from clinics. I'll now transition to the health issues that they face onto the physical dangers and that sometimes prey against sex workers. Sex working is more prevalent in women who are already preyed upon outside of sex working industries, and many face the real dangers that we could only imagine in horror movies. According to the book of Sociology of Health and Illness, 16 out of 55 women describe violent encounters with dangerous customers involving rape, kidnap, intimidation, and physical assault. With the severity of physical crime against them, you would think authorities would jump to save a damsel in distress. However, authorities are not the quickest to defend illegal sex workers. Sadly, many authorities want nothing to do with the crime of sex workers because it is an illegal practice. There was a documentary I was watching during the 70s era of the Satanic Panic, where satanic cults were rising in popularity, and the Bible Belt was struck with fear for a decade. It was during this time that a prostitute witnessed a horrible crime and a murder of her friend at a ritual, and she ran to the police station pleading with the officers to file a report, but they snubbed her due to her well-known status of being a prostitute. To this day, many crimes on legal prostitutes are nullified because of their positions, leaving many of them feeling they have nowhere else to go without being handcuffed or for admitting they are sex workers, or completely snubbed by authorities. Because many women are left to protect themselves, they carry weapons on them, persuade their clients not to harm them, or even lie saying there is someone who watches them while they work just to deter a potentially violent client not to harm them. However, there is a simple solution to prostitution, protecting these people from harm and to make health resources available to them. A recurring issue for people who are legally prostituting is the stigma that revolves around them. For example, my mother and her ex-boyfriend were driving downtown at night, and a truck was violently swerving in front of them. They started to merge in another lane, and a trash bag flew out and hit their windshield, going about 40 miles per hour. Her ex slammed on his brakes, and a lady popped out from the trash bag, crying and bloody. My mother's ex-boyfriend started to get out of the car, but my mom begged him not to, and the woman was hysterically screaming that she was a prostitute, and the man who threw her from the car was just trying to kidnap her during work. Luckily, her ex-boyfriend did not care that the woman was a prostitute and continued to help her call 911. But there is a perfect example of how prostitutes are associated with being dirty or lesser. This view on illegal sex workers is so prevalent in our society today, which leaves them wary of coming forward to discuss their health issues and the ultimate dangers that they face in their area of work. The most simple solution to solving the greater issues with illegal prostitution in America is simply by abolishing the stigma around illegal prostitution. In countries such as Europe and Germany, where prostitution is legal, there has been a great improvement in a sense of overall change in healthcare benefits now that is heavily regulated there. There's more help by police efforts on preventing crime on prostitution, also because of the fact that it's a legal practice in itself there. And right here I have a few of the stigmas that go against the satirical images against sex workers. Until prostitution is legalized in America, there are still things that can prevent the health crisis of legally sex working, as well as preventing violence against them. This can only be done by abolishing the stigma behind sex workers or making it legal. So I urge you to rethink about how you would approach a sex worker if they needed help or were in danger. As I said before, sex workers are human beings trying to make an honest wage. Oh, there's nothing after that. Oops. By any means necessary. They're still someone's daughter or niece or mother. Everyone deserves respect in life and the same opportunities of safety that you would have in other jobs, like working a restaurant job. Because at the end of the day, sex working is still as much of a job as any other. It is how you view the brave women who step into that sense of work that ultimately decides their fate in the illegal sex working industry in America.